Okay, you've done a lot of circles, you've done a lot of ceremonies in the cities between Georgia, between Florida. You've been that girl, you've been on a mission. I really want to figure out kind of like how we got here with you being in the mindset to serve. Like, were you always a spiritual person? Did you find spirituality later in adulthood?
I began my spiritual journey around when I was like entering high school, I would say. I became vegetarian from the inspiration that my brother became a vegan in my family, and he kind of was like the catalyst for introducing us to that lifestyle.
For the animals, or was it for health? Both?
It was for the animals first, but then my other brother became vegan also like before I did. Like, I have two brothers. He started like coming for me about like being vegetarian is like not for the animals because dairy industry is like really fucked up.
Right.
And so at that point I was like addicted to dairy. Obviously, like cheese is just, there's the ingredient casein, which is the milk derivative and protein from that comes from milk that is known as being addictive. And so I knew that was like the last thing I needed to cut out. So I was vegetarian for a year, and then I transitioned into veganism. That is kind of what introduced me to the spiritual lifestyle, because I started realizing that the big industries, the government, and all these different corporations were ultimately lying to us. It started making me realize that we're not being told the truth on a lot of different things, from the health system to what we're consuming with our eyes, with our mouth. Ultimately, it just led me into the atmosphere of spirituality because, yeah, being vegan just makes you make certain choices that you don't typically make. And mind you, this was like over 10 years ago, so a lot of people didn't even really know what that meant. So I was also like an outcast to a degree, and it kind of isolated me even from certain friends, because it was like me and like 3 other people in my entire high school that were vegans. We made like a group, like us 4, because we were just like, oh, like we understand each other. Yeah. Okay. We were like the vegans, and people used to make fun of us and stuff. But
Wait, did it have a name though?
It did.
What was the name?
It was like vegan class, and it was just but it was because KLAS was like the first letter of each of our names. I mean, none of us are friends anymore, but that's besides the fact. It was just like, okay, that's what led me into it. And then I started doing potlucks, and that made me realize that, oh, I can bring people together in the spirit of food, in the celebration of food. And then I realized that my friends from over here were like meeting and like starting friendships, and even some started dating, and I just felt like, oh, I'm a matchmaker. Like, it kind of led me into event organizing and curating. And then I also met the spirit of cacao, and cacao was introduced along the journey throughout that process of bringing people together. Specifically in Gainesville, Florida, where I went to school at UF, there was a guy named Matt who was hosting ceremony, and I was at a farmer's market at the time, and he was like promoting, oh, I'm doing cacao ceremony. I was like, oh, I've heard of that, but I've never been. Like, I'm really interested. And so I went to my first cacao ceremony. This was back in like 2018 or 2017.
Okay.
And he was a bit older than me. He was probably like in his mid-30s or so. So it was someone that I was definitely inspired by. The next one that I went to with him, he allowed me to assist within the production of the ceremony in collaboration with the sound healing aspect as well as making the cacao. So he was a big support within that process of just getting to know the cacao medicine a little bit more, what it can offer to community and how it brings people together.
For those that don't know, you are a chef, a plant-based chef.
Yeah, I've been baking since I was a kid, for the fun of it. You know, I started off with the Betty Crock boxes, but then I developed my own recipes. And when it came to catering or vending or having a business, I actually began that journey in Miami, and it was first called Indigo Sweets. That was like in 2017. Then I realized that vending was a lot of work, and I didn't have the time for it at the time to like really delve deep into that journey. So I kind of put it on a pause while I was in college. And then after I attended a 10-day silent meditation retreat called Vipassana, which is in Jesup, Georgia, but they have locations.
Really? In Jesup?
Yeah.
Oh,
they have locations all over the
okay.
world, though.
Okay, so I didn't know Jesup had, it's like a small little spiritual community?
Well, I wouldn't call it a community. It's more so like this retreat center that hosts it year round.
Okay.
The 10-day silent retreats, and you have to like sign up for it, then you get approved. And then they feed you twice a day, like completely vegetarian / vegan meals. And you have to be silent throughout the whole retreat. So, and you can't do yoga, you can't journal,
Really?
you can't be on your phone. You have to like literally either turn it off or surrender it to them for that period.
So this is straight meditation.
Yeah, and you can't even exercise either.
Wow.
Like they have like a loop of a nature walk, but that's all you can do. But yeah, you're meditating for like 10 hours a day.
Oh,
so you wake up like at 5 a.m. and then you're going to bed like at 7.
And you did this, what age were you?
I was like 19.
Okay.
I'm 29 now.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I did that, and that is what made me just come to the conclusion. Because I sat with myself for 10 days.
I was going to say, that's heavy work at 19 to sit with yourself for that amount of time.
No drugs either.
Yeah,
nothing mind altering. But naturally, that experience was mind altering because I felt like it was psychedelic in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, it brought me to the conclusion that I wanted to drop out of school. And I felt like ultimately for what I wanted to do, that I didn't necessarily need to go into debt for that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know education is, you know, for some, but it's not for everybody. And if you have the money, if you have a scholarship, go for it, you know. But I didn't have a scholarship. I was running on FAFSA, half of it Chipotle, and then I'm still in debt to this day, but that's a different subject. It led me, you know, on this journey of continuing with the events and just navigating the food industry and learning how to build my own business from the ground up, which I'm still in the process of, as well as studying real estate, which is a new venture, but kind of intermingles into the bigger vision of things.
Okay, yeah. So we get to, at this point, you're not in Atlanta. At this point, you're still in Florida. You didn't come to Atlanta until, what, 2019?
After I dropped out in 2019, 2018 I dropped out. And then I went back to Miami for a year. I lived in Little Haiti. And then and then I came to Atlanta in 2019.
Wow, okay. Yeah. And so what was your experience like moving to Atlanta, and what was the spiritual landscape at the time? Because I know a lot has changed.
Well, I was, you know, Rory's my husband, and he's already kind of like deep into the spiritual community here. So I kind of like intermingled with the existing community that he already had brought around, and I was helping out with the events that he was already doing ultimately, but kind of I was more so putting more structure to them and continue building off of that. But
which you still do. She's still the director and organizer for everything The Woods. She handles business on that. If you've seen an event from The Woods, look, she handled that. So, okay. Do you feel like it was still large scale, or do you feel like you've built up to the facilitation you're at now? Because I feel like almost like all the circles and everything has kind of been big since you've been here.
So it's a little bit of both, because there was a time period when it comes to the women's circles that I did take a good amount of a break. And it was because when I first moved here, I was in collaboration with someone who was our girlfriend at the time. And we did a few circles, but then that relationship ended, and then from there I started doing it again and then incorporated the cacao aspect to it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was doing events in Miami first, and then when I moved up here, I was just applying what I was already doing, but over here. And Atlanta was definitely different than Miami. It was kind of like, I didn't know what to expect when I came here.
And a lot of people don't know, if they don't know you personally, that you're white passing. So already in Atlanta, like,
it's a whole different people even say that.
It's a whole different beast being somebody who facilitates. For those who don't know, like, your husband is black, you have 3 black children, and it's one of those things that I know, just knowing you for the time that I've known you, that has circled in this space of is this trusted community? Is this aligned community for the primarily Black community and the Black spiritual community that exists here in Atlanta? And so it feels like very interesting, some of the rhetoric that I know you've gotten, and I'm wondering if that has been the case since you've been here, or if it was like a specific like shift where you're like, okay, wait, I feel like now all of a sudden people are coming at me.
Yeah. So coming from Miami, you know, I don't know, like,
yeah, it's everybody there.
Everybody's like kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still like some separation, I feel like, everywhere you go, but like in Miami I feel like everybody's just like one big blob, like everybody's
so brown. It's like all different kinds of brown. You just are like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, but coming here definitely did like wake me up to like, okay, like it is a bit different over here. Like I am a white woman, like my skin is white. I am Hispanic though. My mom's Cuban, my dad's Ecuadorian, and so that, I feel like, just how I look though, it did catch people off guard, even being like the wife of someone who is Black in a very Black community. There's been people who even like look down upon him, which is like, it doesn't feel the greatest. But I think once people put their guard down a bit and got to know me and they realized that, oh, like, she's actually cool. Like, they didn't want to admit it. It was like, right. But no, I mean, there's definitely, not everybody is like that though. Like, some people are just naturally very open as well. Like, I wouldn't put that whole blanket on Atlanta. 'Cause even like Mama Tassili, which is a very close friend of Rory and pretty much like a spiritual mother to the both of us, she like opened her heart like with open arms to me, and her and I are in very much good terms. You know, she's a fellow Sagittarius,
right? And
one day apart from me. Yes, of course.
Yes.
So I definitely feel like she understands even like the backlash that people naturally get when like eyes are on you. You know, even as an entrepreneur, as a spiritual leader in the community, like there's always gonna be haters somehow.
Genuinely, whenever you're going against anything that is considered the status quo or traditional in literally any category, it's always people with opinions.
Yes,
for sure.
Because even when they came to the cacao medicine too, people were judging me for hosting ceremonies, and mind you now, like Atlanta's super oversaturated with cacao.
And let's talk about that. I was gonna say, and let's talk about that, because when you came to Atlanta, I would say, because I came in 2016 and I felt like the space was very much plant-based, very much vegan, but I did not see a lot of medicine work until the mushroom boom, which was like low-key around the 2016, like 2015, I feel like was really huge in Atlanta. I feel like cacao came like much later to the game, and I almost wonder if that's because even though there is like a pretty big Hispanic community here, like a Latin community, like it's not like Florida where it's literally like a hop, skip, and a jump away from like all the islands and countries that like a lot of the brown people came from. And so the culture in Georgia, in Atlanta specifically, because for those who don't know, Atlanta is North Georgia, so we're even further from Florida. But there has been definitely, I feel like, an education process. And cacao has been one of those ones, and one of those medicines specifically that I've seen a lot. Because you also have your own cacao brand at this point.
Yes.
And I want to know how long that has taken you to build, because that's a big part of the conversation with how you serve your cacao.
Once I started hosting the ceremonies and facilitating, I realized that a lot of people were loving the cacao, and then that made me decide, like, oh, I can just put it in a jar and sell it.
Should have had some up here.
Oh, I can go grab it.
Right, yeah.
Let me go grab it. It's literally... Yes. Which is also what we're sipping right now.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm trying to remember. I don't even have a year on here, but I believe that I established the brand in 2020, like when COVID was happening, and I was just like kind of rebranding the food business, the cacao. and all that. So yeah, I would say like 2020, 2021 is when I like rolled it out.
We're sipping on, like you said, has some ginger in here, some different things. You know, we know it's the cacao itself is the heart opener, but I know you have a lot of adaptogens. You have a lot of other things in there that really make it potent medicine.
It is infused with coconut sugar, which is one of my favorite sweeteners. It's non-cane sugar, and it has cayenne pepper, which helps it to activate it into the blood quicker. So each thing does have a purpose within the blend. Maca is good for energizing, as well as the cacao itself, so they kind of go hand in hand. The ginger is good for the immune system. The reishi lion's mane are adaptogenics that are also good for the immune system and brain cognition, which make them good alternatives to coffee as well for a daily sip. And then I like to also add a little bit of neutral oil as you blend it, because it gives a nice creaminess. I use grapeseed oil, but you can use sunflower, coconut, or even olive. Olive does give it a bit of a flavor, but it depends what you're into. Vanilla, sea salt, and I believe I'm like missing maybe one more thing, but yeah.
Okay.
Ginger, maca, reishi lion's mane. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Cinnamon. Yes, the cinnamon. So yeah, coconut sugar. I just feel like it has a really nice flavor that's like has naturally like a cinnamon undertone almost. So I just like all of those ingredients go really well together. They make the cacao more enjoyable. Traditionally speaking, by the Mayans and the Aztecs, they don't even sweeten the drink at all.
Right.
So
embrace the bitter.
Yeah, and I don't claim to traditionally host ceremony either, and that's what sometimes people were coming to me for. I mean, like coming for me for about like me calling it a cacao ceremony, but not it being a traditional Mayan or Aztec ceremony. So that is another subject that can be conflicting for some.
But I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, there is no quote unquote ceremony, and then I hear no, there is ceremony, and you absolutely have to be taught by this lineage to serve. And
so it was said to the cacao itself has been discovered thousands of years ago and was treated as like gold or theobrahma, as in food of the gods. But technically speaking, the ceremonial aspect is more modern day in terms of it being revered in prayer and gratitude, and as like with the Mayans and the Aztecs, or indigenously speaking, like within ceremony of the cacao. That is where the controversy comes in of if the ceremony itself was thousands of years ago. But yeah.
Right. Okay.
But by definition, I would say ceremony is truly just about being purposeful, intentional, and just moving with gratitude and just about like moment to moment, and not just like pretty much every day is a ceremony. And if you are treating everything you do very mindfully, your life is a ceremony. And so it doesn't truly have to be so segregated or frowned upon that, oh, like you weren't taught by this person. When it comes to cacao, and I'm not speaking for all plant medicines, but cacao is a very, I would say, universally open medicine to be given to people, because it is a heart medicine and it is not psychedelic, and it doesn't have to be ran by a shaman like ayahuasca or like something as serious as anything that's more psychedelic. It needs to be handled as such.
You have built your own pocket of community here in, not, look, they're gonna eat us up if we say Atlanta, in Stone Mountain.
Yeah.
And
I have lived in Atlanta.
Yeah, okay, right, you have, yeah. So this is recent development.
Are they called Metro Atlanta or something?
Yeah, the Metro Atlanta, exactly. Because I'm in Tucker, and I'm like, they be trying to eat me up. And I'm like, it says Metro Atlanta. You have hosted a lot of co-ed ceremonies. And I would say that's how you started, right? Is mostly co-ed before you moved to women's circles.
Yes, that is correct.
And I really want to...
After the break. Yeah.
Right, after your break, yeah. And I would like to know really what kind of made you transition into women's work, and kind of what did you notice shifted in the space when you did that?
So I first began with the cacao ceremonies that were all genders welcome, and I started to realize a pattern being that it would always be like 90% women. And it was always nice to have like a few divine masculine there as well, because we love men that are open to good old cacao medicine and just being in their divine feminine also, and having that nice balance. However, when I realized that pattern existed, I wanted to kind of create an also this. Mm-hmm. Also, let's do an all women's vibe, and I can still do the co-ed. So at one point I was doing both, and even up until recently I had a new moon circle that was all genders and a women's circle that was for women. Yeah, what led me into that was just realizing that that pattern existed, that cacao is a divine feminine medicine, and I wanted to tap more into that, as well as I had my own, to be transparent, like set of traumas with women that I felt like I need to step into my own leadership and heal that for myself. In my own journey to have a better relationship with women.
I want to pause on that though, because I feel like a lot of people come to women's community because they have issues with the masculine, and so for them women community feels more safe. But you're saying offering services and deciding to be in devotion to women was to repair your relationship with the women themselves.
One of the intentions, yes.
Okay. And one, do you feel like it worked? And two, and two, what made that click for you, that you said, okay, I can be in service in this way, and it can also benefit my purpose?
So I do believe that it worked, for the most part. So yeah, I've learned a lot throughout this journey, actually, of hosting women's circles, and it's been a beautiful journey. So I just felt that being in community with women who were on the same wave or attracted to the same thing would make these connections more authentic and more fruitful, to be able to connect. And even having the different themes and topics and activities that I would do, it would just be eye-opening for them, for myself, for each other, and it would create new friendships, some long-lasting, some short-lasting, and some just glimpses of things that you can learn just from sitting in that one circle, and you can gather what you learned and leave the circle and feel like whatever sense of renewal of a lesson or something that you have come to realize within that moment. That makes sense.
It does. Yes, it does. So this is something that Kris does that is actually, I think, different from a lot of women's circles, and I don't see it very often in the consistency that Kris does it, which is every full moon she started highlighting a woman and what they like and want to offer to the collective. We've had so many different kinds of women. Even I have not been to every circle. I've been to quite a few, and we've had everything from massage to dragon lineage, voice activations. We've had everything, and I love it every time. Like, it's just always beautiful to see really how many different women specifically are doing the work and really how they're channeling it. And so yeah, let's talk more about the highlights, because that was a real new development that I feel like really took off well for you.
So I decided when I realized that the circles that I was doing, they were consistent, I had activities in place, but I realized for myself and for the community, I'm like, I want to make it more captivating for people, and for the people that are coming, and for the people to feel more connected to each other as well, versus people maybe just seeing it as like, oh, Kris is the host and she's like the center of it, and that's never how I wanted it to be viewed as. I wanted it to be viewed as, okay, like, this is the space here for people to come and enjoy and be able to network or build friendships. So I decided to begin highlighting women, which entailed highlighting what they do, be it as an entrepreneur or whatever they did in their own journey, and being able to network with the community here. And the community that I did bring was the group of women who are willing to support a lot of the times, and be able to perhaps have new clients getting out of here, or friendships, depending on what they do. So I've highlighted you before too.
Yes.
And I hope that it was fruitful for you.
And it was. I not only had a lot of new community that I met in that circle, but I was definitely financially supported in a lot of all the offerings I brought for that circle. And so, yeah, I feel like that is a big thing that I really enjoy about your community, is that they are supportive and they do go out of their way to really embody like what it means to be in circle. And I feel like, one, we can owe a lot of that to the fact that you are so seasoned in hosting circle, and I feel like your circles always have a very good flow. You usually host them at your house, which means you get like a much more intimate feeling, even when necessarily not every circle is like a go deep circle. I feel like there's still a lot of conversation, there's still a lot of back and forth, a lot of relating, and it feels really good to witness. And yes, I have been a part of it.
You were like one of the first ones.
Yeah, I was one of the first.
If not, were you the first?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I don't even remember.
I wish, but it wasn't me. But okay, let's get into it.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
Let's get into it. So the flip side of being someone who unabashedly supports women is that sometimes your toes do end up getting stepped on. And being someone who not only welcomes people into your home, but welcomes people into your process, there is instances where we get a lack of reciprocity. And I would like to know, one, how you handle it mentally, and we can get to how you're choosing to handle it in the current time. But I really want to know, like, when was this a pattern you started recognizing? Is this something that kind of has always come up in circle, and you've just now decided to really tap into what to do about it? Or is it something that you've noticed is growing?
It's a little bit of both. I had been seeing a pattern of certain things where, and not everybody at all that I highlighted. I would say
not even most people.
Yeah,
right,
I would say maybe like 40% of people.
That's more than I thought you were supposed to.
No, girl, I haven't even described what the 40% even means. But basically, like, the flip side to the highlighting, some of them have been, fruitful and fun, and I feel like have been worth it. And other times I have felt almost used to a degree, and I've never really expressed it directly to the people that I have felt that about. I think it's more so just like on my own journey, I see it, and I don't know if they see it, and I kind of give it the benefit of the doubt of like, oh, maybe they're just unaware. But I have felt like the certain people that I've highlighted have come just to get the fruit that was here, that I put a lot of work into growing, but then never come plant their own seed, never come and water, or just take the fruit and not even like say where the fruit came from, or even like give something towards the fruit for the mirror of that. So
I do.
Cool. I definitely feel like cacao should be used in more communities, and that is like what I aim to do. If you know that it was inspired by like your experience here, then how could you make it like a reciprocity kind of thing where both of us can win in the situation, and you're not just kind of copy pasting somewhere else and never coming back to the circle. So that's pretty much it. To keep it simple.
Right. And I do feel like the big thing about it too.
You could have used that in your
right. And that's one thing. And even bigger than that, I think, like I've touched on, you do serve community in your home. You do serve your own cacao. You are donation based, which is extremely generous. And it can be something that's like a hurtful situation when you have people coming that actually are taking the fruits of your legitimate labor to dedicate time and resources to the collective and to steal the sauce and serve it elsewhere without even conversation, even things like that. I've seen, again, like the whole format be bit. So it's just kind of like, I do see it very much like, let me come and experience, and then, you know, I can go off and do my own thing because now I've learned the whole thing.
It's like, babe, if you wanted me to be your mentor, you could have just said that.
And you know where to find her, y'all. If you don't, you will in the bottom. So, and that's something that actually I wish you would tap into much more. You're somebody who has been not only dedicated to circles and ceremony for a decade, but have been consistent in your service. In several years, you didn't take a single month off from full moon circles, started doing new moon circles, like something where you definitely were going out of your way to be very impactful, even when you were under-resourced. So that for me is like a really heavy topic, especially for where you're at currently, which you've decided to take the sister circles private. You said, well, let's get into it, because she said, I'm not dealing with y'all no more.
No.
So if you're hip, then you're hip, and if you're not, you're not. And not she's welcome to new people. I'm not.
No, see, it's not a you can't people that I'm doing that either. But
we'll release it. We'll release it when you announce it.
Let them hear it. It's all good.
So yeah, I think that's something which even that I feel like is really honorable, to still want to host circle and still be welcoming in community, but in a much more intentional and more invitation based process because of the reciprocity issues that we see. I feel like especially in Atlanta, like it's just kind of like a really sticky place to be in spiritually, and there's a lot of the scammer culture, all of that's very heavy here. Yeah. So I feel like you definitely get a different energy than what I know we've experienced just having traveled around a little bit. You kind of get a different feel for the spiritual communities around, and Atlanta is definitely like a sticky one to navigate for sure.
Yeah, there is a lot of different little pockets and stuff, so that makes it interesting. But definitely I feel like, I guess like with my intention on the women's circles, ideally I had the vision of just like continuously growing, like everybody has their own purpose, their own role to play in like communities like that, and we don't all have to do the same thing. Like we could just continue growing. And so yes, I did decide to take a break from the public in terms of I'm no longer promoting the circle, I'm no longer making it charged. It's more so now I want to focus on the people that I know are here for me authentically and here for each other authentically, and wanting to water and prioritize those friendships to where I feel like the energies are just more aligned and they don't have to be necessarily forced or even questionable. So that's where I've kind of taken the direction of not even necessarily private, but just more so like, hey, I'm gonna focus on like the people that I know are like meant to be in my life.
Heard, felt, self-worth. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
That's another one of those sticky areas when it comes to women's work and women's leadership, especially when it comes to women who I feel deserve to make a living off of the work that they do. You are one of those women. And I definitely think that there is an aspect of women giving themselves permission to be not just held and supported in non-monetary ways by their community, but also be supported in financial ways. And I would like to discuss, what has your relationship been with money in the spiritual space?
It has been a layer to the reason of why I even chose to take a break, because I do feel like in relation to the word reciprocity, like I can't put too much focus on something that's not making me enough money to even get by. So although I wish I wasn't a subject, it is. We live in America where we have bills to pay, and you know, like if I'm gonna put a lot of energy towards something, I have to make it count and make it worth my while to a degree. And I think in a spiritual space, a lot of people might not realize like the amount of work that actually takes to facilitate and to put things such as ceremony together. So they might not see the investment part of it financially. At one point, I did have it as a donation base, but then I started kind of like increasing the minimum donation. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't turn people away if they weren't financially able, but then again, I came to the subject of, well, if you can pay for a cup of coffee in the drive-thru, like you can come to the circle if you actually wanted to.
Yes.
So I did make it a ticket purchase where it's like they can choose any price over $11.11, and that was like transitioned probably about a half a year ago or so, and it took me a while to get to that point, and even then I feel like I was still like the price was low because I wanted it to be accessible to people. And yeah, because the intention was community, and ultimately that price was just paying for the cacao, really.
Right.
I did feel like the labor itself was never really being financially compensated for, and it wasn't something that I was necessarily like complaining about. However, in today's era, it was just more so like, this doesn't feel like that aligned for me as much as it did in the past. And that doesn't mean that I won't ever do anything women related, ceremony, full moon circle again, but I just need to take a pause on it and focus on my finances to get to a more comfortable space to be able to serve community in a more accessible way. But I do want to tap into like retreats eventually. I just feel like that too, and this might be just me like overthinking it, but I do feel like that space is also a bit oversaturated at the moment. So I kind of like, I'm not pressed to get it started right away, but eventually I would do a retreat for sure.
I definitely think because our relationship kind of budded over a retreat back in 2022. And so you have co-hosted retreats.
Yes. Shout out Giselle. Giselle's Harmony.
Period. Yeah, the retreats, and this is something that I feel like because with Giselle and the team that was there, you were definitely somebody who was very present, very knowledgeable. I feel like you definitely could host retreats, and I don't think it would be oversaturated for you. Not only were you facilitator for the mushrooms, but you're facilitator for cacao and facilitator for the hafe. And so I do feel like, and the sound bowls.
It's like, yeah, right, okay.
And I feel like there is so much that you definitely could offer. And I feel like, again, coming back to that conversation of reciprocity and like, how do we build community with people that we see doing things we enjoy, and instead of going off to do our own things, like, let's be in service. The retreats and even, again, the circles that you would like to maybe start back up in the future with just more reciprocity can be done if we have people who are like actually intentional about building. You are a community organizer and you make shit shake regularly when it comes to bringing people out in the community. And again, bringing people out to Stone Mountain. Y'all don't get it if you're not from here, but like, no one wants to come out to Stone Mountain if you're not from this way. Like, it's a drive with the way the traffic is set up. And so I feel like it's a very huge feat to definitely be somebody who can move community in that way. Because some people do have medicine, but it's maybe more one-on-one style medicine. And I see you like very unshakably like handling big groups. That is really admirable and something you definitely could focus on more. But you have a lot of new ventures that you have been cooking up now that you have the time to focus somewhat.
Yeah,
we know you got 3 boys and 1's a baby, so time is relative here, but I want to talk about what's new. So because we've taken a little, not hiatus, but kind of putting the circle behind the curtain, making it more exclusive, what you're going to be focusing on publicly?
I am about to finish my real estate course. So I'm hoping to pass my exam to get my license very soon. And once I have my license, I do plan on promoting myself in that way as a real estate agent, and I would eventually like to educate myself in the commercial realty industry. I also would like to get a brick and mortar eventually, like a cafe bakery style, with the intention of the vibe of like what my woman circle brought, but in the form of a cafe. I don't want to get too detailed because I don't like sharing my vision that detailed, but I'm excited to dive into that.
Ooh, you know what I just thought about too? Because I'm like, girl, you could be a realtor for like holistic spaces specifically. And I know that like here in the city, it could be hard. Even me, like finding good studio space is like something that's just renting, let alone buying.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you about something after this.
Okay, period.
Just related to that.
Okay.
So. Yeah, that's what my focus is on at the moment, in addition to, of course, motherhood. Also, I just got a new LLC yesterday. Ultimately, to further professionalize this brand, because I want to get it into cafes, as well as some of the dessert that I make as well. Yeah, that's what I have going on at the moment.
Okay. Listen, I feel like that might be wraps. Like, get you some balance for bliss, y'all.
Yes.
And if you want to see Kris again, like, let me know. Me and her could yap for hours. So.
Yes. Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Right.
15 minutes from Atlanta. Hit me up. Hit us up.
All the links will be down below. Follow the Woods for community events that are here if you're local. Follow Kris for all her future offerings and her current ones that are absolutely amazing. If you host Circle, if you host retreats, Balance for Bliss is definitely something that you want to contribute. This blend is absolutely amazing. Everyone says so. Yeah.
Hey.
First episode.